I gotta admit, and people are saying the same thing. Elon Musk is kind of right about this because Musk is now calling for San Francisco lawmaker Dean Preston to be fired for blaming vehicle break-ins and massive amounts of car thefts on tourists. That doesn't really make that much sense because if I'm a tourist going somewhere, I'm gonna have luggage in my car. Like, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna have luggage in my car. If I'm stopping somewhere, there's gonna be luggage. When I'm taking gas, there's gonna be luggage. And there's always going to be something in my car, right? Like, when I go on vacation, I don't want to think about constantly that my vehicle's going to be broken in. I mean, if I go to Miami or if I go to Las Vegas, I'm not constantly worrying about my windows going to be broken in just because I had, like, a pair of sunglasses. Whereas San Francisco, it's, like, all the time, all right? Tourist break-ins of their cars and their whole entire cars being stolen is at an all-time high. The city is truly lawless. So you do have Preston claiming that tourists should be tasked with curbing spiraling car thefts. Says visitors should be pounded with a message to not leave things in their car. But Elon Musk is saying that this person is most responsible for San Francisco's destruction, which is a pretty bold statement as well. When you say someone is most responsible for the spiraling downfall of San Francisco. So this is what's going on, right? And car thefts have been plaguing San Francisco, and here's the thing about San Francisco, they never actually fixed the root issue of anything, right? There's massive amounts of homelessness in the city. Right now, you do have not just the Tenderloin getting mass amounts of homelessness, so you also have places like, the Civic Center, which is literally right next to the X headquarters in Elon Musk, right here, which is filled with homeless encampments, people doing fentanyl. And I'm sure Musk and his HQ is probably not happy at all. The Mission District is facing some of the craziest scenes. You got people on Harrison Street placing 2,000-pound planter boxes to prevent homeless encampments because the city just doesn't care. And the city is like, oh, we're going to launch a new program where we'll actually give business owners more money to open stores here. But here's the thing. No one's going to open a business here when there's just homeless people everywhere and there's homeless encampments everywhere. And they just never solve the core issue, right? Like, the core issue about why tourism is down, the reason why there's so many companies are moving out, and also the reason why 150,000 office workers are no longer coming back to San Francisco is because it's so crime infested. I mean, when you head over towards the bridge, Oakland is literally the city with the highest car theft rates in the whole entire nation. And if you look at San Francisco, they're not far behind. Right? They're about the same as Oakland. So you have neighboring areas in the Bay Area, right, next to San Francisco, where car theft is insane. And you can't be blaming the tourist on this situation because there's basically just a slap on the wrist when someone does get caught for car theft. And sometimes people will be breaking into like 50 cars before they get caught. And when they get caught, they get let out the next day. And this is kind of like what everyone is saying about San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area. This is why so many people just don't want to come here. And tourists that come here, that get their luggage broken, they don't want to come here ever again. And of course, there's always word of mouth. And it's always like the craziest things, right? Some tourists, they don't even leave the luggage. They literally just park, let's say, on a beach for just 10 minutes, and like 5 of their cars get broken in, all their luggage is gone. Like, it's not like these tourists purposely go to San Francisco. They know that car thefts are crazy. They don't want to put all their luggage in. But come on, like, do you really have to have like 2 of your family members standing guard at all times while you just take pictures of the beach for 10 minutes? And yes, that has happened just a few weeks ago. Okay, tourist cars lined up on the beach to take some pictures, came back just 10 minutes, and everything's gone and the car is broken in. It's crazy to see this scenario. I mean, look at some of this, right? This is wild. You got whole entire vehicles being stolen at this point, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, the cops are putting out bait cars, but those bait cars aren't doing anything. This is crazy. Like, you would never see this in other cities. And this is happening on a constant basis. Whole entire vehicles being stolen, right? This is like GTA 5 in real time. Check this out. This is even crazier. You just have people just going through every single one of these vehicles looking to see if they got luggage, if there is luggage or stuff. They'll just break into it. And you do see, like, the car that's filming, like, there's no point of even calling 911 because the cops really don't care. You even have videos of, like, cops showing that they're literally right in front of a car theft and they can't do anything. I think the laws in San Francisco just encourages criminals to do all sorts of crazy, brazen crimes. Try to do this in Texas or Florida, they wouldn't really get away with it, right? Especially Miami, right? If you go to Miami, Tampa, for example, and you try to pull this off, there's no way, right? There's no way car thefts are like this. This is basically like a business, right? It's like people are done with staying at home. They're like, you know what? Let's just rob a couple cars today, and just see what we could get. Let's see what loot we could get, and they just go around looking at some cars, stealing some things, and they go home, and everything's forgiven. Like, there's obviously surveillance cameras in a lot of these streets, but of course the cops just aren't really catching these people. Now I'm sure the cops want to do something about it. There's also just such a over shortage of police officers because the whole defund the police situation, right? So what's happening in a lot of these areas is they're short like 600 cops, and 911 staff is understaffed, and this is what's going on. And Musk is pretty much saying this doesn't make any sense, right? You can't really be blaming the tourists for leaving things. I mean, they're tourists. They're going to have stuff in their car. And, I mean, when you're a tourist going somewhere, you don't want to just be worrying about car break-ins. This is why San Francisco, for Chinese tourists, for example, Chinese tourists before the pandemic used to spend $1.2 billion on a city on a yearly basis with 500,000 people visiting. Now, I go to some of the Chinese websites and look at what they're saying about San Francisco. San Francisco is ranked dead last on their list for vacations. This is why if you go to San Francisco, you won't see a single Chinese tourist because they avoid this like the plague. They think it's actually a very scary and very dangerous city, which it is. And this is why so many other big companies like Salesforce are downgrading their office. I mean, San Francisco is a fantastic city, okay? There's so much to do. I mean, you could have skyscrapers in one area. You travel for 30 minutes, you get to the beach, you get to like the hills, you get great views, there's golf courses. I mean, it's a great city. It's a peninsula. Great weather too. But just being ran to the ground. I think a city shouldn't be, super harsh on laws. I don't think that should be a thing, but not so lax to the point this place becomes a playground for criminals. And this is exactly what's happening. I love San Francisco. I really want them to change. I came here before the pandemic back in 2019. It was a really fine place. It was a really fun place. Had its problems, but still very fun. It wasn't like crazy GTA like what it is now. But now it's just getting worse. And I really hope it does get better. Because they're already losing a lot of people, right? City also drops 33,000 jobs in hotels, restaurants, and retail. And that number is still rising. San Francisco also loses 150,000 daily office workers during the pandemic, and those guys are not coming back. We're seeing real estate dropping, office, malls shutting down, foreclosures on an all-time high, and we're also going to be talking a lot about the rippling effect of the San Francisco real estate sector because a lot of regional banks in California have massive loans for a lot of these buildings, and a lot of these buildings are being more empty, more vacant. Landlords and small business owners and big investors start noticing that they can't sell any of these buildings, and the buildings are only worth a fraction of what they paid for, and many of these buildings are going to the foreclosure route, which is causing another scary panic in the banking crisis because that banking crisis isn't finished yet. So just be careful, and we're going to be seeing more stuff, and I'm actually pretty shocked to see Elon Musk getting into this whole entire San Francisco situation. Well, I guess, Twitter is in San Francisco, and also, I'm not really sure why they haven't moved out, since a lot of their other companies around the Twitter headquarters have already moved out.